coordinator and booking manager of the Woodnia Foundation, curator of the Summer Jazz Academy Festival and the International Jazz Platform. She's also the board member of the European Jazz Network. And also we have here Antoine Boisse. Antoine Boisse is the general secretary of AGC. AGC is a French network of more than 90 jazz and improvised music festivals and venues. And Antoine is also participating among the development of the Jazz Migration, an artistic development program for emerging artists. They will tell everybody, to everybody. And me, myself, I'm Cinzia Venier, and I'm here just representing Taller Músics and Action for Young Musicians. So I think we're gonna start just presenting our projects, and then we're gonna just discuss about like this topic. So Antoine, would you like to start?
Okay, thank you very much for being here. It's 10 and I see people already awake, so that's amazing. We're gonna try to keep this rhythm, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. So yes, we're here to present. We all have some kind of difference in different ways, talent development program, or where we support young artists in one way or another. So we're trying to discuss today the content of what we're doing and how we do that and how we can collaborate on a larger scale. That will be, I think, the topic of the discussion today. As Cynthia said, I'm running AGC, which is a federation of jazz festival and venues, mostly in France, but also we have some connection throughout Europe. And one of our biggest projects is called Jazz Migration. It's a talent development scheme that exists for now 20 years. It's a long process. I won't go into every detail now, but it's a long process of selecting every year 4 bands, and so about between 12 to 15 musicians, so 4 bands that will go through 2 years of supporting, where they will have a lot of training sessions, artistic training sessions, professional training sessions, meeting with professionals, and also, which is the main thing about Jazz Migration, they will do the 4 bands about 100 concerts. We will organize 100 concerts for them throughout France and Europe in 1 year. This is more or less the content of Jazz Migration, and this is how we do that. We have a team that is dedicated to that. I have an amazing team working on this project. But it's a project that has the specificity of being held by festivals and venues. Without this kind of investment of these festivals and venues to try to work with young artists, there wouldn't be this kind of project in France so far. So, I mean, at least for the last 20 years, because it's a long process and it's a long project. So yes, that's more or less Jazz Migration what it is now.
Hi everyone, again Carolina here from Poland. I will start with a short movie which I think shows best what actually International Jazz Platform is about, and I think it's a good beginning. Wake up a little bit, you will see. So if I can ask someone to play it. So this is International Jazz Platform in a nutshell. Actually, International Jazz Platform is a combination of things. It's a development program for young artists when we encourage them to develop professionally, personally, and artistically, where they have this unique chance to create and share music with their artistic heroes, with their artistic role models. But even more importantly, they have the chance to meet and get to know their peers from around the world. So every year it's around 50 young artists from all kinds of countries that get to know each other, establish friendships, create music together, share music together, share ideas, their hopes, their doubts. So they have these 5 days in Poland to create this small community of young artists that has been growing since we started. So first thing, it's an artistic development program. Secondly, it's a festival. So we present around 13 concerts every year of adventurous artists, and these concerts are programmed for these young musicians. So they are programmed with them in mind, to show them where the music is developing these days, to actually show them that there is never one single way to create music, which is very often in opposition to what they are taught at schools, and that there are so many ways that they can choose, and to inspire them, to encourage them, for their individual searches, and to keep looking for new inspirations. And also on top of that, it's also a networking event and a jazz community event for the last, I think, 4 years now, since we started being engaged in the variety of international European projects, Just Connected, Footprints, Now Better Life. And it's also for these young artists to have an opportunity to meet international promoters, to hang out with them, and to get to know them in a pretty relaxed and enthusiastic atmosphere. So yeah, this is International Jazz Platform since 2021. We've been also organizing it in Oslo. So we have an edition in Poland, we have an edition in Oslo, and there will be some more editions in France and in Holland soon.
Okay. I would like also to put the videos before just presenting our project.
Passione.
One is challenge,
Fusión, ¿no?
Veramente colore,
la creatividad,
O sea, también diría familia,
Amicizia e condivisione.
libertad.
Okay. So from Taller Music, we started like 4 years ago, 2019. This project that is called Acciones para Músicos Noveles. This is action for new musician. And what we promote is basically we try to create project where we involve well-known or experienced musician. And we try to make them they do a casting. They do a casting like in the school with the music community. And they start to work in a residency, in artistic residency, with all these young musicians. And then they start to do, basically they work in a creative process, they work with their own repertoire, the repertoire of the musician. And basically then we try to find them the opportunity to show the project. So we work like in collaboration with festivals, with venues. So there is this way like to present like the project. And apart from that, we promote the mobility of all the musicians, the young musician. For example, if you see like in the videos, we collaborated with Intl Jazz Festival, with Sonar, with like big festival also. So the idea is just we ask the festival to present like a musician, a famous musician, and then they work with the students. And so the idea of this project is to create like a bridge between the school and the scene, no? To connect the young musicians with the scene, and also to create like a convey of knowledge between the experienced musician and the young musician. We have been working, as you've seen here, with Chano Dominguez, Omar Sosa. We did a recording last year. We recorded a song with Salvador Sobral. We work with a techno musician that is called Cora Novoa. So, and Antonio Lizana that will perform today. And we are very happy with this project because I think it's a great opportunity especially for emerging artists to know how it works and to have some really important experience in the professional world. And this is Acciones para Músicos Noveles. Yeah.
Well, what you just mentioned about the bridge between school and the scene is actually one of the reasons why we do that. When we started Jazz Migration 20 years ago, we have to remember it was days with a little bit of internet, but not too much. So the first item was how a band from south of France can be known in north of France. How can it be known and how can it tour? Just that was 20 years ago, that was just it, you know. And slowly it went to going through emerging artists and how we can support young musicians. So the first answer we had was very simple, but still a bit complicated. It was just to put them on stage, because that's the first thing they need is to play the music in front of an audience and into festivals and venues. So that was the engagement that we had with back what's called Afishma and now AGC. But after a couple of years, we realized that wasn't not enough. You know, we had so many great artists coming out from every conservatories we have, or music school in France, where they were great technicians, but somehow they were lacking like the knowledge of the real jazz scene, the professional jazz scene. They were lacking many knowledge where in a time where a musician is not only just a musician, he's also a professional at one point, and he needs to do his own communication, his own administrative paper, etc., etc. And this lack was getting bigger and bigger inside the path. And so we made a small survey with the first artists that we supported, and then we realized that they all had like a terrible level about all these kind of things I mentioned, you know, knowing who are the agents, how an agent works, the press, the labels, etc. They had no really idea, very connection about that. I won't blame here, I mean, I'll let you blame the conservatories, you do that very well. But I won't do that now, but it was a true item for us. So we said, okay, let's try to see how we can expand the project, Jazz Migration. Let's keep the base, which is giving them concerts, because it's still what matters. 20 years after, it's still what matters. It's playing their music, and their own music, not music from someone else. So their own music. But before that, we tried to give them this kind of big content over 1 year, more than 1 year of professional meetings, artistic meetings. I mean, they're not here now, but they're coming to Jazz Ahead every year with us to meet some professionals, to get a first look of what it is. They're going to other fairs. I see Jamin Ju over there. They're trying this kind of event as well, just to get a connection about that. And we try to give them that during this year. So this is why, actually, now we do that.
Yeah, that I think is the difference between our two schemes, that you focus on the professional development while we added that segment after some time, and from the very beginning we focused on the artistic development. And actually our relation to the academic environments is like we wanted to question the academic environment. So when I created Platform in 2013, you know, firstly it was mostly for the Polish students. So the Polish academic environment of that time was a bit rigid, let's say, to call it diplomatically. It was, you know, it taught the only right way to play jazz music. Students were forced to play jazz standards and discouraged to compose their own music. Any kind of, you know, deviation from the only right path was discouraged. And I wanted to show them that, for me, actually, personally, it was not only dishonest, but it was unfair towards these young people to teach them something that was no longer there in Europe, that promoters don't book, and to show them that if they don't start working on their own language, on their own music right now, when they finish the music academy, they will be jobless because nobody will book them. Maybe a few promoters in Poland, but that's all. So was, you know, I remember the first edition when we had to drag everyone to the platform, you know, to tell them it's going to be great, trust us, calling and, you know, just running after these young guys. And it was, in a way, a camp for pariahs, all those that didn't fit into the academic structure. And they were like, oh, wow, there are more of us like that around. And, you know, year by year, we started getting more and more interest among Polish students, but also international students, international young artists. So the word has been spreading. So that's one motivation for me. It's to show them how the real life outside of the music academies look like, and what's played out there, and how to encourage them to work on their own sound, language, and music, to look for their individual development, to care about their individual development. And the second thing is, like, that's something that we have in common with the international dimension of music and artistic work, that through Platform I want to promote and defend. The music has to develop internationally. It's intrinsic to the music. It's important for artists to develop internationally, to know what's out there. So at the International Jazz Platform, we wanted to show them their peers from all around Europe, so that they get to know each other, they establish friendships, and in this very organic and natural way, they start playing more in Europe and more around. And it's a pleasure actually now to see some of the bands that has been established during the platform, recording and touring in Poland, Norway, and around Europe. So yeah, that's my two main motivation to keep going.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I share completely your motivation. I will add that, of course, you are talking about academy. We are also an academy. So basically, Taller de Music is also an academy. So there is this bachelor degree. So this project actually was born with the idea to do what you're just telling now, no? So one of the slogans of Taller de Music is from the classroom to the stage. So basically, the idea is to give them this opportunity and to connect them not only with to have this experience with we're experienced musician, well-known musician, but also because they can find their own way in their own language. This is a kind of experience that help you to understand what could be your language, how you can develop a repertoire, your own repertoire, because they are working also with their own music. So I think that in this way for us is a big motivation. And also is a motivation to discover talents, because thanks to this kind of programs, we are able, as a cultural managers, basically, we are able to discover new talents. In other way, you need this kind of program to know what young people are doing. And it's not always easy, because like young people or young musicians, they have not always the possibility, the time, the tools, and there's also the money to do that. So I think it's very important to support this kind of program.
I think what you're just raising about discovering new talents is something we all have in common at one point, of course. It's just, there's one thing, and it's going back to the same topic about why we do that, what is missing, and why are we in this position where we have to do this job while others should have done it before somehow, or others should do it now. Is the fact that discovering new talent is a good thing, but giving them the space to be is another thing. And we feel that sometimes when I'm a bit discouraged about my job, I'm thinking, shit, I'm trying to show new musicians every day, every year, but they don't have any room to play. They don't have any space to play, not enough. Well, I kind of know why, because it's difficult to take this chance and these risks. So this is, putting on stage young talents, unknown talents to the audience is a risk that not everybody's willing to take. And so we find some ways for them to be taken this risk. Like when they are doing the tour, the 100 concerts we organize, it's in 55% are in Europe and the rest is in France. We try to support the travel expenses so that it's a less economical risks, so that promoters will book the bands with thinking, okay, we can do that, we're taking these risks. But at the end, what I'm just worried about, and it's another topic, is how our project can fit into this kind of big ecosystem in the long term, where musicians can play and really find their path and their ways and really grow their music and like naturally. I mean, not meaning that after. Just want to give you an example. We say we are working with emerging artists, and I'm talking about people who are 35. Are we still young and emerging at 35? It's a true question. I mean, we can say yes, of course, but it's a true question. It's a true topic. When does it stop? At what moment do we stop saying it's an emerging artist in our music field? I'm just gonna go with that. And it's I think it's one of the reasons why we're here. We try to do that, and we try to push so that at one point, promoters, I'm really into the live section here. I'm not talking about labels or anything else. It's another topic, because that's the topic I don't deal with too much with Jazz Migration. But the promoters have to have this kind of, okay, I'm going to take some risks. I'm going to put these bands on stage, etc. And it's like an everyday leitmotiv to do things. But it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, I wouldn't say it's hard as well, but it's just like an everyday work that needs to be done, and it's one of the reasons why we're here as well, I think.
Yeah, and that's always the final question of age, and every time we are sending out the information about that the application is open and everyone, what's the age limit? There is none. I mean, it's about what you have in your head and whether you are open and you are ready to re-evaluate what you've already done and what you've already experienced, and that's all. When you have potential for further development, and you know, music keeps you young. So that was Jim Black said it last week. So I relate to that. But also in our case, International Jazz Platform is highly curated. I mean, the selection process of artists is curated. And this is an important fact. So it's every year we get around 300 applications. We choose 50. And the idea is that these artists have to be, as I said, open, and they have to have the potential. They can represent, different directions, but the one thing that they have to have in common is this readiness to jump into new experiences, new relationships with others. So this openness, and you can hear that in music, it's crucial here. But as a result, all the people that come, as I said, this count for pariahs at one point. Now that's why they form this community of like-minded artists, and they stay in touch, and they work together. They establish projects. I had this discussion a few months ago with Luis Oliveira. He's a Brazilian drummer living now, I think, in Austria. And he was at the first platform still in 2013. And he told me that these are the things that we sometimes don't realize that happen behind our backs. Is that, I've been in touch with, I think 10 people from this platform in 2013. The ones from Austria, but also from other countries. When I go somewhere, I still have these friendships, these contacts. And in a way, we've managed for 12 years and over 500 artists that have gone through the scheme to create this, kind of a community around Europe for young artists to be there for themselves, to support each other, to establish projects, and to share. And I think also during the pandemics, it has made us realize so much how important this community is. And we were fortunate enough to keep going through the pandemics. We found these windows without quarantines and without any bans. And I remember seeing these young guys that we need the community, but these young artists needed even more. And that has made us realize how important it is to provide them a space where in a very encouraging, supportive, open, creative environment they can do their stuff. We are there only to help. So the faculty members, these guys that come, that are the artists in residence this year, it's Stian Westerhuis, Kaya Draxler, Nick Dunstan, Erland Dahl. These guys are not there to teach, because all of these guys can play. They are there, just to push them, to give them their music to play, to encourage someone to bring their own music. They are there to facilitate the development of these guys. But they know very well what they need, and they know very well what they want. But that's a chance for them to work on it with all these great musicians from around Europe. So I probably jumped into just weird around, but community for us it's super important, and especially for the young artists and the creating community is what we want.
Yeah, and just thinking about what you were saying is community is very important. But my question, for example, for you is how we can arise the interest, because we were talking about creating network, between organization, venues, promoters, and but how we can arise first the interest of international promotion for our project, for the project that are created in France, in Poland, in Spain, and also the audience, because also the audience is sometimes the promoter can say, maybe I don't know if I want to program these emerging artists because I don't know if I have enough audience and everything. So how I think it's very important, and I think the promoters and they should take the risk, and but how we can do that, how we can motivate.
Sure, I'm going to answer, but I'm going to try something. Well, the first thing about the professional sector is, I think, the way we select the artists. It's very important what you said. The way we select jazz migration artists, and this is why we don't really matter during the 2 years of process with the artistic thing, is that because they are chosen around that. So they are chosen because the project is good, the music is good, and then we just discover 4 bands with 4 different levels of structuration, of structuration, sorry, of development program. And so after that, we have this job of 2 years to try to answer their needs, their professional needs, but the artistic needs, they don't need. The guys and girls are playing are already pretty good, and they don't really need us to do that. I mean, I'm no one to tell them what to do. I'm just here to point them in what seems to me and seems to them the right direction, and make it happen so that they could meet the right people. So for example, on the artistic level, the only thing we do is that we put them in a 1-week residency where they're going to work their music, and this residency has to be done with a former jazz migration musician. It has to be done like that because it's a nice way also to reconnect this kind of big community, family. And so, for example, bands like Suzanne, that you probably saw over the last year, has done his residency with Émile Parisien. And so we still have this kind of family thing that is great, and that is one of the topics about the trying to build something that lasts, that connection that lasts. So the first thing is that I think the way we select the artists, so we have an open call, we receive about 100 bands applying every year. There is a first selection made by a first jury that is changing every year, jury of 10 people. And then we just keep 15 bands, and those 15 bands are sent out to 130 jazz festivals and venues and promoters throughout France and even Europe. Some of you did, right? Yes. So it's like a process where it's promoters that are choosing the band. So at one point, it's the best way to engage them in the process. And it's already starting at the beginning because a band can only apply if they are seconded by a festival or venues. It's like a first filter, you know. If we would have an open call, we would have 400 bands every time. Now we only have 100 because those 100 have been spotted and selected by a festival or venues that is saying this band is good band. It's something interesting. So when they are at the beginning, they have to be at the end, you know. And the end for us is put them on stage. So this is how we got bigger and bigger and more concerts. At the beginning, when I got there, we had like Jazz Migration was 20 concerts. Now we're more than 100 because we have put this kind of big community of French and not only French promoters. And now, I'm not saying that every selection is good. I wouldn't say that. And I have my own point of view about the Jazz Migration selection. But I would say that when there is someone looking at the showcasing of Jazz Migration that we have every year, there's no one who can say, this is shitty music. It can be not your taste, but it's not shitty music. It's a great musician. They have their own path, which is, the good thing is that it's very different from what we could call more mainstream jazz to very improvised music. We have this all wide range of jazz musicians, and so this is the way we try to put them with us on this project. Regarding the audience, it's another topic that myself, we don't deal directly with that because the only way we could is by the artists, is trying to also work with them during the 2 years and even more because we don't work just 2 years with them. They are always here if they want. We are always here if they want some help, of course. But it's how they can work to find their audience as well. It's another topic we discussed about how a musician can be his own producer, his own label, his own manager, and his own booker. But it's also how a musician can find and nurture his own audience through social network, etc., etc. So it's one way to work with the musician. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm just saying this is where we stand now. I'm not in touch with the audience, generally speaking. The festivals and the venues that are booking this musician, they are. So I think they are all trying. I think it's a bigger struggle than just here what we are doing and talking about talent development program. The question of jazz audience is a bigger struggle for everyone. But where we stand and where I stand now, I can work through the musicians' bias and through the festival and venues as well. But directly, it's more complicated.
Yeah, I remember this concert of Theo Cicaldi that I programmed at another festival that I'm doing with the Summer Jazz Academy, and it's like in a big room, 1,000 people. Let's say like the festival, which is artistically a little bit in the middle, because you have to, you're bringing people new stuff, but you also have to give them something so that the room is there. And I remember Theo Cicaldi with In Love, And it's like one long set without any breaks. And they're like, "Ooh." I was like, oh my God, they're gonna kill me. But they didn't. And I remember the Polish audience loved Theo and this project, and with Sylvain Darifork and the cello player Valentin. So it was like interesting to see that if you do it as a program and in a right way, you can sneak in some things for the audience, for them to get to know new stuff. It's not an easy task, but if you are committed to promoting young scene and young artists, you can do that. You have to just, it depends on the festival, to do it in the right way. And in my opinion, like working on the audience is our job. It's my job as a promoter. If I'm bringing Theo Cecalli to Poland, I don't expect him to gather the audience, because probably there is only a slight percentage of Polish people that know him. It's my job to bring people in and to ensure that these guys have great audience to play for. So yeah, I think it's like how to do that. I think it's first of all by making promoters exposed all the time to the young talents, to show them, to talk to them, to encourage them to be curious. Again, Jim Black, last week, we had a conference last week, and then Jim Black was there, and he was also saying about, how to nurture curiosity in people in general, but also in the promoters. So to be interested in what's out there, what's happening in the young scene, and International Jazz Platform is the right place to see what's happening out there in Europe among young musicians. And it's also about, for me, it's establishing these friendships with other promoters, because that's a thing of trust. So if I have my friends promoters whom I say that this is good stuff, trust me. So he or she will like, okay, I will check this out. If you say so, okay. So maybe in fact it is. And so for me, it's about creating these networks of promoters that trust each other, that are ready to help each other out, to book gigs together of bands, and just work together to help artists tour. And that's actually a topic of an entirely new project that we are doing with 11 partners in Europe, which is called Better Live. I'm not going to talk about that, but this is exactly to do that, to encourage promoters to co-program concerts of young artists around Europe, to work together in order to enable artists tour internationally. But yeah, friendship, trust, curiosity. I think these are the main things.
In our case, actually, one of the strategies when we start this project was to ask, well, we are still asking that this festival, no, because we start, or the festival, the organization, the institution that are collaborating with us, just to choose the artist. And they say, okay, we work in a residency. So I'm talking when we do like the residency in the project with the experienced musician. In this case, for example, it happens with Sonar. We ask them, please just choose the producer, and then the producer will work with our musician, no? So when they went to Sonar, there was a big audience, because the audience already trust the festival. So they're open, no, to see what is emerging, and they are also open to see what is new, no, in the scene. And also we're doing this with Jazz Festival and with other organizations. We ask them, especially in the international co-production, because we did several, not only inside like this project, also like in general, when we work with the other musician, we ask them to suggest a musician, and we suggest also, and we think about if this musician is already like an audience in this whole country. We know already if this musician, even if they are emerging, but they are their own audience. So we think also about everything, because the idea, we don't, how you say, we don't decide like the artistic, what is happening there when they are together. But we think strategically how they can have more audience, so just they can, in some way, promote the semi the best way. So this is this is important also to think about, let's say, as we working like in this project, just to give, the project should last, no? So what you were saying, no? They have to, and another thing that I would add is important also to involve agents and managers, no? So this is something that there are not many agents, no managers, actually. It's something that is missing a little bit. And so it's very important. When we did this project with Chan Dominguez, I was surprised because, okay, we did the project. We didn't expect that he was so involved, and that he told me, okay, let's carry on with the project. We'll carry on to the booking of this project. And the agent, his own manager, say, okay, let's do this together, no? And this was it was a challenge for us, and it worked. So I think it's also very important to make the other people believe that it could work. And this was when there is like an international, just a well-known musician. But even if there are like this new project that there are nobody well-known involved, we have to try to involve managers and to believe in that, because it's important. This figure, we always talk about promoter, but also the manager is important because they are selling that. So it's
This is something where we would be different, because, for example, we don't have any in France. We don't have that many agents and managers that would take along the risk of working with young musicians. But it's true, we would love that. We really tried, this is probably why we do this kind of, I think we do something like 100 hours of training session with the musicians, showing them how to do the booking, do a budget stuff and extra, this kind of very professional stuff that we do more or less regularly in our job, because we don't find many, who are willing to take the risk of saying, okay, I'm going to take this young band and I'm going to work with you. And it's also, I think it's also very connected. There is this first, that is happening all around Europe. I don't think there are many agents and promoters, that are, managers that are willing to take these risks. But it's also a way the French jazz music scene is structured, where there has been over the last year in the jazz music community like a very big development throughout collectives of musicians, where they were actually not doing their booking, because none of the collective, they very rarely doing the booking, but somehow that was a way to work together and through together. Started with Arfi back in the days in the 60s, and then we had Yolk in Nantes around the 90s, but after beginning of the 2000s started to be like collectives of musicians all around France, and one of the biggest one was called, and it's still called Coax, in Paris. And the way they were structuring themselves was fascinating to see, and our job was to say, okay, we're going to try to support you in one way. We won't be able to give you managers and agents because we don't grow them on tree or anywhere. We don't know where they are. But if you think the way you work with this collective is the way you want to work for the next year, okay, we're going to take your bands into Jazzmigration, we're going to make them grow, we're going to show them to an audience, to promoters, and then hoping that the collective will also grow by himself. And it worked with different collective. Another one, now there's another one in France, in Paris, called 2035, that which work with. There was one called One Name for a Crew in Nantes as well. So we tried to do this, like following what the musicians were doing, because it's one topic that needs to be, that we could talk now, is how we go with the musicians, Some of our projects could be very strict. Jazzmigration was like, at the beginning, like, we had like one way to do. Like everybody's going through this way. And suddenly, after a while, we realized that it was easy for us to do it when it's just that, and it was not matching the needs of the musicians. So now, it looked like a big tree. Jazzmigration is like a big tree. There is how do you call, Francisco, what do you say? Trunk. The same trunk, for more or less, and then branches everywhere for any needs of the artists. And that's how we try to work with them now. But it's true. I would love to have agents and managers to work with, but we were just discussing that topic yesterday, because I'm searching for a French band that's going to play in Jazz Head is searching for an agent outside of Europe to work. And even that, So he's playing in jazz radio, which is supposed to be like a nice way to be seen, you know. And there is no one to work with this band, which it's terrible. It's very terrible.
Yeah, that's another big question. Agents and managers, we've actually did the project with involved trainings and supporting agents and manager. And one of our footprints participants is there, Robert van der Plat from the Netherlands, who worked with Liv Andrea Hauge trio, a Norwegian female pianist. And actually, I talked to Liv Andrea last week, and she told me, "Oh my God, Robert will he pushed us all the time. It's thanks to him that we actually released the recording. He was like telling us all the time, yeah, you should do that. Maybe you should do like a home video, and then after home video, okay, so maybe let's record it." And then she said, yeah, without him, we wouldn't have had the band. We wouldn't have had the material to present it around. So. Yeah, there are some, but it's like endangered species, is it called? The good ones. Yeah, exactly. You can count them on, and we have also Malwina Witkowska. She also has gone through the program. She started her company during the pandemics, and now she's like managing Trondheim Jazz Orchestra, her 5-6 bands. So there are some of them, but this job is so incredibly difficult. And so very often incredibly ungrateful that and hard to do, that I'm not surprised that lots of people just give up. You really have to love your music and love your musicians and be very committed to pursue this career. That's why there are not so many of them, and we wish there were more. But it's also our job as promoters to, make sure that we also support them and work with them, and not say, sorry, I don't work with promoters, I only work with artists. No, we shouldn't do that. It's a super important part of the whole music ecosystem. What was the question?
No, actually, I'm seeing that we have like 10 minutes left, more or less. So I think there was like, we were talking about how we can collaborate together, no? Do you think it? And then if someone has some questions, so please just raise your hand. So how we can do it? How we can enhance or?
Well, you have a project now with a Spanish musician and French musician, right?
Yes.
Going on now.
Yes,
right?
yes, actually. Here we have Lison from the Centre National de la Musique. And Usam Ali, this is part of, actually now, right now, during Jazz AM in Taller de Music, we are doing casting. We are developing this project with the Centre National de la Musique. And so we involve 2 French musicians, actually, that are here. They are casting and knowing Spanish musician. And the idea is just to do a residency, an artistic residency, develop 2 new projects. And we will show this here in Barcelona, and then see in Jamin Juan. So Marilyn is here, I don't know. Oh yeah, okay. So this is the kind of project that we like to develop, no? Just connect different organizations, work with just music coming from different countries. We did also, like in the last year with the Locomotive Jazz Festival that is in Italy, we did the same. They were not, like, there were 2 Italian musicians and 2 Spanish musicians, and they worked together. Here, in this case, we give suggestion about the artistic part, because we connect flamenco music with jazz and with the taranta, no, with the music from there, and so in some way it worked. So we presented this here and in Italy also. So we are open just with all of you just to do more projects in this kind of project, because I think it's a way to make the musician known in other countries. So it's very important. So, and apply together more projects, international projects, European projects. Yeah.
We actually have the same idea. It's just that at one point we also, and I'm going to talk before Carolina, because if I talk after, my project will look very tiny, and so you have the big spot, okay? Yes, I know that. I know that, but still, you'll see. That's very tiny. I think it's also a way for us to put ourselves in a different position that we are. I'm a national federation, like supposedly and I'm funded 100% by French money, you know, so I'm supposed to be working only with French artists, trying to promote them, and a word that I hate, but export them somehow. I don't know what it means, it's not carpets, but I'm supposed to export them and sell them. It's really the limits I grow in my job now is these terms. But at one point, the politics that we have now are a bit, they have 10 years, they are 10 years late than us, you know. We are in a generation where musicians, they don't wait us to decide with whom they want to work. And even we didn't say too many bad things about the education system, but still they have amazing possibilities to study abroad and meet other musicians and start their own project. And so we used to say there was like some kind of Ryanair, a generation of musicians. And we have to follow this Ryanair musician. Yeah, Ryanair? Yeah, you know? You should. Because they used to go and travel easily and first spots very easily travel and meet other musicians. And we have this kind of feeling. We had it for a long time in France. We saw the musician already connecting with others without us. You know, we were not implied in any ways. And we said, okay, there is something going on here. We have to follow this. And we have to find ways to support this kind of French and European bands somehow. So we find different ways to do that. And one way was that I created was 2 years ago, the first meeting between 8 talent development schemes and federations like Jazz Migration. So we had a Jazz Lab series in Belgium, Jazz in Italy, with their project Nuova Generazione. The Nordic countries with their Nordic Jazz Comets project. And the idea was to put everyone at the table and say, okay, how we can really collaborate and not only say, you take my band, I take your band, which is good, but it's not long lasting, you know. So we tried now. We just had a grant from European Union with Músics. It's a small grant, and it's a nice way for us to first dive into this kind of project between 9 organizations, big ones and big different projects. And the project is very simple, but somehow it works, and it's already starting now. We don't go into the artistic level. There is no music involved, at least. We just focus on the professional and development of the artist. And the idea is to select one artist in each country and try to work where they want to go inside Europe and try to have a long-lasting connection. So they're going to have residency, professional residency over 10 days. So in France, we're going to welcome Pablo Guy, who is a trumpet player, and he's going to come to France for 10 days, and he's going to meet hundreds of people during these 10 days. He will play, probably, but it's not where I'm involved in. But my job is to make sure that after the 10 days, he has so many connections with the French jazz scene that he knows who to get in touch with when he's going to start his own job about booking and trying to connect. And it's going to last like that for 1 year. But it's ways. We tried these kind of ways to go abroad, the kind of political public policies we have, the national public policies we have, to go abroad that. But it's not that easy, I must say. Go ahead. Please yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, that's short. No, it depends on the things that we do. Within the platform is a little bit different approach. So we just choose the best artists that apply this year. We choose and select wonderful artists in residence, faculty members. We program wonderful bands, and we put everyone in the same pot for 5 days. And we provide them with the best possible conditions, with the accommodation, sound, teams, etc. So we give them everything they need, and we just let the magic happen. And it does happen. And after that, we can see the consequences of that. It's just right now that the Pesh band, this Polish-Norwegian one, is touring in Norway and Poland. I remember Paul Nielsen Love inviting Patrycja Wybrańczyk, the Polish drummer, for his large unit for Oslo Jazz Festival. I don't know, Jort Terwind from the Netherlands, now, you know, being a frequent visitor of Peter Elt in Berlin. So you see these things growing, and you just need to provide these people, these young people, everything they need so that they can think only about music for these 5 days and leave with their heads like full of inspirations and thoughts and ideas. So that's the platform. But how to actually encourage promoters to work together, due to many reasons, these are all the other projects that we do. And in fact, after the Footprints project was one of our initiatives where we exactly worked with agents, we worked with young artists, and we tried is a good word here, to send them on international and sustainable tours. And what we realized actually after 2 years, and Robert can, you know, it's a living proof of that, even if we have the super motivated, talented young agents and super motivated and talented young artists, and we have the promoters in particular regions that serve, you know, that open the doors, it's still so difficult, verging on impossible, to organize sustainable tours. We realized that what is missing is actually those promoters willing to work together. And the promoters in particular regions willing to compromise their artistic choices and willing to jump in on board and help his friend out and other promoters. Okay, let's take this band, let's lower the financial and ecological burden of this tour. And this is how we've come up with the new project that has been just launched last week in Amsterdam, which is called Better Live, where we are working on these two things: international circulation of artists and lowering the carbon footprint of the tours. Plataforma Jazz España is our partner with Marina here, and we have 11 partners, 9 countries from Finland through Norway, Spain, Greece, Poland, France, and like whole picture. So yeah, we want to work on that to show the promoters why it's important for them to work together, to promote young artists, to co-program concerts of international artists, because there is lots at stake. And if we don't do it right now, there are, you know, the modern voices that we should all, you know, artists should stop touring internationally at all. And we know that it's not the way ahead, and we have to defend the right to tour internationally and for the music to develop internationally. But it's our job as promoters to think, okay, but how to do it more sustainably. And this is our job for the next 4 years that I all encourage you to check out, because you will hear about us for sure. Yeah.
So promoters, you are all invited to work together, no? To work in a net, please. You're here. I think we have. Yeah, it's 11. I don't know if there may be space for one question. If someone has some question or some comments about what we have been talking, I don't know. Ah, yeah, Peter. I think the microphone is coming.
Thanks. One comment. So we are talking about the international co-productions. And we all have communities or network of artists. We are ourselves a community or a network of professionals. And what Cinzia was mentioning in the middle of the talk is that, okay, where is the audience? Yes, festivals have their own audience. Some venues have audience, but that's more difficult. I think the most important for us is to start also cooperation on audience development, because it is not the same audience what we are looking for than what the festival, maybe the festivals, yes, but what the venues have. So these co-production projects are not headliner bands, are not locally known bands having their fan base. What we started already to develop is an international audience for really these co-production projects, which are representing artistic creativity, which are representing multicultural projects. And I'm sure that there is an audience who is open for unknown bands, because these are all unknown bands, maybe known musicians in their own countries or even known musicians in Europe. But the formations, the co-production projects are unknown. And these are just project bands. Some of them will survive, some musicians will continue to cooperate together, but we need definitely to develop all European audience for these kind of multicultural projects. And this will work only if we all work on it together. So yeah, let's just cooperate also on audience development, not only on production.
Yeah, I agree.
I just answer very briefly. Okay, running out of time. Yeah, in my opinion, audience development issues, of course, it's of interest to all of us. But for me, it's a very local job, and actually, in my opinion as a programmer, in order to promote among my audience any international cooperations or foreign birds coming to Poland, to the city of Łódź, so that I have the audience there for them, I need to work locally, and I need to establish relations with my local audience, and they need to trust me. That if they don't know someone, they will come to the concert. We don't want audience to travel, all around Europe for concerts, because we cannot afford that carbon. But I think it's a very tough and it's very difficult job of promoters to actually build this relationship with their local audience and to make them, again, curious. And it's all Jim Black, if you hear me. Last week was all the time. We are coming back to one thing: nurturing curiosity in ourselves, in people, in musicians, in the audience, so that they don't only go to the concerts of the artists they know, but they are curious to get to know new ones. And yeah.
This is what we need to do one by one. So
Yeah.
you do your part of the job in your city, everybody is doing his or her part of the job in his or her city, and if we combine and we pass the information, so now with social media it's very easy to pass the information. Locally, everybody has to develop the open-minded audience for the unknown co-production projects. But I would add that I don't totally agree with that people will not travel. Those people who are open for multicultural cooperation projects, they are travelers by default. They go not because of a concert, they just go. And okay, I'm now in Istanbul, let's look for something. What I'm looking for. I'm looking for this kind of project. Okay, let's check it on a database, on a platform. Is there anything happening in Istanbul at the day when I'm there for business, for family reasons, for whatever? And they are traveling. So I had here in Barcelona, I had audience coming from London. Not because of the concert, but girl was coming, she's an artist, she came for a conference, and okay, let's look what is happening around, and she found a concert of Maria Mazzotta here. But she was looking for that, because she's a traveler.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have
I-
any other questions left.
I think we are out of the time, actually.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
point out, and because I just have one here, but there's a couple of them over there. It's a magazine that we print out every year, and this one has the honor to have Francesco writing on it. It's a magazine, it's in French, and this one in English as well. It's both. It's really about that matter, actually. It has been like, we did it out over last year. The topic is really this. So we have Carolina talking and other people talking about their jobs and how they work with talent development program and how they work with emerging artists. So it's just over there, and if there is no more, it's on the website, and you have every article you have, and this amazing piece of Francesco that is here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Antoine, Carolina. Thank you very much for coming. And so, actually, the next section is with Francesco Martinelli here in A Conversation With is the title, and so it will start in like in 10 minutes, so 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
One of those promoters